Welcome to Mama Tusa, Conversations with a Midwife. I'm your host, Atusa Benji. A quick note before today's episode. This show talks about birth, life, death, and all the complexities in between. My goal is always to share stories that leave you feeling empowered, but please know that some topics may be challenging or deeply moving. Also, while I'm an experienced midwife, I'm not your midwife, and the information on this podcast is not intended to be medical advice. Please consult your healthcare provider when considering what is best for you as an individual. Now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy the show. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited for today's conversation with Cheryl Benji. She's actually my niece and also the artist who created my backdrop and a lot of the things that you see on the Mama Tusa website page. She talked about her pregnancy journey, about what her birth was like and how she did not feel supported by her provider. We talked episiotomies, we talked about Bell's palsy, and we talked about her very difficult breastfeeding journey. And through it all, she is positive, she's creative, she is a champion for women, and I think you're really going to enjoy the episode. If you want to stay in touch, check me out on Instagram or Substack. Now, without further ado, here's my conversation with Cheryl Benji. Welcome, Cheryl Benji, to the Mama Tusa podcast.
Thank you.
I'm so happy to have you.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is so full circle for me because you were the first podcast I actually ever listened to.
Oh, no way.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I was not a podcast listener.
Wow.
I remember you told me you had one. And I was like, what is this all about? Oh. And I would listen. I'd be like, I'm so inspired to do this. And I called you and I said, hey, I think I want to start a podcast. Will you help me? Yeah. And in typical Cheryl fashion, you said, of course, come over. And I just came over to your house one afternoon and you showed me all the things and how to do it and the gadgets. And then it took, like a whole year for me to wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
But we got it done.
And look at you now.
Here we are. Here we are. Thank you for
Beautiful.
Being so inspirational and so kind and
course.
Making time for me with this dream that I had that is happening.
Yeah.
And viewers, this is our new set created by the one and only Cheryl Benji. I love it. I love the colors. I love the contrast. I love the gold sparkles. It just makes me happy. So thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy. It makes me happy that you're happy and I was able to be part of this creative process.
We did it.
You.
We did it.
Yeah.
And producer Josh this morning was very patient with me as I forgot pieces of the set. Yes. And he put it all together. And I think we might have perfected it, Josh. I think we got it.
It's a learning process.
It's such a learning curve. It really is a learning curve. And do you like the orange chairs and the orange table?
I do.
It all just came together. It was meant to be. It was so meant to be. We could talk about so many things. We could go in so many directions. We share a culture. We share family. We share womanhood. Mm-hmm. You are a mommy of 2 boys and a girl. And I had the privilege of being at the birth of your little one, who's now?
She's going to be 14 in August. Yeah.
How is that even possible?
I know.
She was a summer baby. I remember I was eating dinner when your water broke.
Oh,
On a long summer night. I remember that very, very clearly. Tell me about your birth experiences. I especially want to talk about your first birth because that was something.
Yeah.
Very difficult and sort of out of the norm, something we don't usually see, out of definitely a variation on normal. And I know it was very hard for you. You were young. I don't think you felt supported from everything you've described to me. And that notion of being surrounded by people who want to help, but still feeling very alone.
Yes.
In your process. So tell me.
Well, the OB I had, he was a very kind man, but he was a little more old school. I really trusted everything he was saying. I mean, I'm a first-time mom. I was young. I didn't do my research. And then we didn't have where you could just go on your phone and Google it. I mean, I think there were flip phones there. I don't know. It was or Blackberries. I don't remember. And so he was referred to me by a family member. And I said, okay, we'll go to him. And he was nice and everything. And then one thing I did do my research on was episiotomies. I said, please, I don't want to have one. I really don't. It sounds painful and there are ways of avoiding that. And he's like, no, you're too small. And he constantly put that narrative in my mind over and over again. You're too small. You're too small. Your baby's big. It's getting big. And I don't know if you can even push this.
Tell me, just for the viewer, tell us how tall you are and what your frame is.
So I'm 5 feet. And at the time before I was like 95 pounds, like 98 pounds. So very petite.
Mm-hmm.
And
petite women can have babies out of their vaginas, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Secret.
Yes.
It's a secret.
And so he kept telling me these things, and I started getting really anxious and nervous as my due date was coming closer and closer, as little baby Noah was growing bigger and bigger. And he was predicting he would be an 8-pound baby. And here I am with this small frame and thinking that maybe he's right. Maybe I can push out this baby. So the ultrasound tech is hearing him. And then when he walks out of the room, she goes, I know a woman that was smaller than you, and she pushed out a 9-pound baby.
Oh.
You're going to be fine.
God bless that ultrasound tech. Let's just take a moment and send positive vibes for whoever that was.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So that made me feel good.
Yeah.
But then as my due date was approaching, Noah wanted to stay nice and cozy inside. He was enjoying being in there. And so I was overdue. And he kept, again, saying, oh no, like he's getting bigger and bigger. And, you know, we may have to do a C-section and, you know, we're going to have to induce you and all this stuff. So I was getting more and more anxious. When there's a time you should. And I got a doula too, like, because I was so nervous and doulas were very new then. It wasn't like, and Bobby, you know, my husband was very supportive. And so we did some interviews, and the one I had, she was amazing. But I was still like getting pretty anxious as I was getting more and more. I think I was 2 weeks over. And so finally, I think my water broke, and you know, after a few hours, we went to the hospital, and my sister-in-law noticed that my face was drooping on one side.
In late pregnancy.
Yeah, and I was smiling in a picture, and, you know, my part of my face went down, and she didn't say anything to me. I don't think she wanted to, you know, make me even more nervous and anxious, self-conscious. So but afterwards she had told me, and she didn't know what it was, and so she just let it go. And then I think as I was going through labor and everything, it started more and more, like my face started changing and dropping. And so I was in labor for like 24 hours. I even did the walking epidural, and at one point I just collapsed and fell to the ground.
Many hospitals don't do the walking epidural anymore.
They don't do it anymore, which
many of them don't.
Great, because had I known that, I wouldn't have opted for that. It was scary.
Because you fell.
I fell, but there were people next to me, and they caught me, so I was okay. It was just like my legs just gave out. Yeah. And so the rest of the time I was in the bed. And, you know, and I tried to go through labor without the epidural as long as possible. But, you know, halfway through, I decided I would do the epidural.
And just for the listener, the walking epidural is different. So epidurals are made of 2 different agents. One is fentanyl, is one of the agents, and the other one is some sort of cane medicine. So like bupivacaine, ropivacaine, something related to the cane family of drugs, which are anesthetics. So each anesthesiologist or hospital has their own unique blend of percentages of which one they use for what. I think back in the day, they used a lot more of the cane medicines versus the fentanyl, which is the narcotic component of the epidural. And so with those medicines, you were more numb. Now they have switched it so that there's actually more fentanyl and less of the cane medicine, so that you're less likely for your legs to just let out like that. So the pain management part of it is better, and so is the mobility aspect of it on your skeletal muscles and your nerves. So they keep playing to see where can we get it. But I know hospitals that used to offer walking epidurals that now are like, nope, no more. Yeah. We're not doing it. One, because we saw people fall, which is a huge liability for the hospital and horrible for the person who's falling. And two, people would get the walking epidural and be like, well, this isn't enough pain management. Give me the real one. So it had the anesthesiologist almost working double, and in busy hospitals, it wasn't working. So I've seen the walking epidural go through many changes over time as we practice medicine, right? The practice of medicine. But I think yours was in the, how old is your oldest now?
21.
Yeah, it was in the day where walking epidurals were actually on the newer side, and we were still experimenting. Yeah. So for the viewers, can you get an epidural that is a walking epidural? Depends on your hospital, depends on the anesthesia team. Some anesthesiologists are not even comfortable giving it. So it really just depends on the culture, but every hospital's culture protocol is a little different. Oh. And even epidural concoction. So, you know, one hospital could give more percentage of this and less of that, and another one could do it differently. Hey friends, I'm so excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Silverette. They're a small silver nursing cup that you can place in your bra in between breastfeeding or pumping sessions, and they really help your nipples heal. If you're experiencing pain in your nipples, cracked nipples, bleeding nipples, I highly recommend them. In fact, I always send a postpartum preparation guide to my clients, and Silverette is always at the top of the list. They're owned and operated by mamas, for mamas, and they're 100% sterling silver. Check them out at silveretteusa.com. That's SILVERETTEUSA.com. So you fell. You got up, or they helped you up?
Yeah, they helped me up, and then it was taking a while, and my doctor was getting nervous and said we may have to do a C-section. You're not dilating enough. And so at that point, I was so exhausted. I just said whatever is meant to be. And it was such a busy night. There weren't any rooms available for that. So we just waited.
No OR.
So by the time, he said, oh, okay, you're fully dilated. You're okay.
Wow. Yeah. As a 5'95" woman, your body could do that? Shocking. Tell me more.
Waiting
with
can
labor.
Help. Yeah.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
So everything went well, and then he ended up giving me the episiotomy, and I was upset because at that moment I wasn't, but afterwards it was painful, and I knew it would be, and I was like, okay, this sucks. And not only that, but I ended up getting Bell's palsy. And I do feel like it was because of the anxiety and nerves, and that triggered the Bell's palsy.
I can only imagine how traumatic that must have been for you, because with Bell's palsy, we know that it's facial nerve 7, which is actually a cranial nerve, is affected, and it can happen in late pregnancy. And what happens, it has immunological reasons, it has blood coagulating reasons. I'm sure it has some stress factors. It also can be related to preeclampsia, which you didn't have. Otherwise, they would have, not that you go to 42 weeks, you would have been induced a lot sooner, but you went into spontaneous labor and you were stressed. And also we have a lot more fluid retention when we're pregnant. So any one of those things could have set it off. I don't think you had preeclampsia, but any one of those things. And it was starting to happen in late pregnancy. So maybe it was just your stress, maybe it was immunity, maybe it was fluid retention. And you are a small body with a lot of fluid. So maybe that did it. So for the listeners and the viewers, if you notice your face drooping, please call your doctor at any point, whether you're pregnant or not pregnant. It could mean a stroke, God forbid. It could mean nerve damage. And that is not something we just look in the mirror and say, yeah, I listened to the Mama Tusa podcast and she said that it was related to immunity. No. Call your doctor.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I can only imagine how stressful that was. So did that get worse as the labor went on and then worse in the postpartum, or was it sort of steady all the way?
No, it got worse in postpartum. I started to notice more drooping afterwards. And I was so in the moment during the labor, I didn't notice. I didn't look at myself in the mirror. I don't think Bobby even noticed. And it was just so minimal. it got a lot worse afterwards. And when I see pictures of me holding Noah, and oh my goodness, and family, they were concerned because there is a chance it could stay
forever.
Yeah. So I wasn't nervous. I knew it would go away.
See, I love that intuition of moms that are like, I know this is going to go away.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
I knew it was going to go away. I felt really unattractive, especially after having a baby, and you didn't take, I mean, now women, I know with my second one, I took my makeup kit and everything just so I just look more fresh when people would come visit. I didn't do that then, and I didn't bring in nicer clothes or whatever. I felt so terrible. So, but you learn, every birth you learn, and every child you learn more. And
you do.
It's all experience.
Totally. And no matter how much you prepare for that first baby, I mean, think of all the things we read that talk about. And in those days, it wasn't even, I think we had that one book or a couple books that was a go-to for us that, maybe don't have as much information as they could, but you would hear about okay, you might feel, you might have some more fluid retention and your uterus may not go back to size right away. No one told us that cranial nerve number 7 could actually be affected in late pregnancy, and that's something to possibly look out for. What? No. So I can just feel for that young mom who is holding this baby and hurting and half her face is drooping and family doesn't really know how long it's going to last or why it's there.
Yeah.
So before he cut the episiotomy, did he ask you or tell you what was happening?
I don't remember him saying. I may have asked, are you doing an episiotomy? I think I had said something then. And he's like, well, yeah, of course. Because I'm too small. I'm too small. So
it was a preventative one in case the baby didn't fit. It wasn't because... Yeah. The two guidelines, according to ACOG now for episiotomy, because they are completely not recommended. They are no longer routine practice. And I've taught about this on the Mama Tusa podcast before, but when the field of obstetrics was emerging, women were medicated, and they were heavily medicated to the point that they couldn't push. They were hardly awake. They were out for their delivery. So they would knock them out, cut a big episiotomy, and then take their babies out with forceps, because who can push when you're out? So that practice stayed for no apparent reason, just because it stayed. And doctors just routinely cut episiotomies, especially for smaller people. So for you, I think your doctor somehow didn't get the memo, or maybe had something really bad happen with a small woman in his practice that made him really afraid. Remember, we practice based on our experiences and what we've seen. And so he might have just been more comfortable doing that because of something he had seen. And so to not ask your permission, it wasn't done because your baby was in distress, which if that baby's head is taking a long time coming and we're listening to that heartbeat go down and not recover, that is an indication for an episiotomy, as is a scenario where you got to get that baby out fast. Doesn't sound like it was any of those things. He already had it in routine practice that he was going to do that, and it was done without consent. So there's so many parts of this that could have been done differently, and we hear that and it feels like crap, because who wants to hear that this could have been done differently and I could have had a different outcome? But to recover from an episiotomy can sometimes be worse, because in order to cut an episiotomy, you have to cut through muscle, which is automatically what we categorize as a second-degree laceration. So first-degree laceration is just skin. Vaginal mucosa is very similar to your mouth. So think about a cut in your cheek. When we have a cut in our cheek, it usually heals pretty quickly. Vaginas are the same. They're very forgiving. They're very vascular. They know they have to come together because they're designed to stretch, possibly tear, and possibly deliver a child, right? So first-degree lacerations often do not even need suturing, and they typically heal well on their own. But a second-degree laceration always goes through the muscle. Always goes through the muscle. So when you cut a woman, you've done more damage, and every time you put the suture needle to put the tissue together, you are making 2 holes for every stitch. So you now ended up making 30 or 40 extra holes that have to come together, which is also damaging the tissue. So possibly now, knowing that you don't actually have to cut an episiotomy unless it's medically necessary. And some of those episiotomies can become third-degree lacerations where they then go into the anal tissue, the anal sphincter, and the ones that are really bad, the fourth degrees, go straight through, and those have to be repaired in the OR. So things happen. It can even happen with an unmedicated water birth. It can happen, but cutting women without consent, without proper education against protocol is an atrocity. And I think we need to just really be aware of what our options are when it comes to that. I'm sorry that happened to you. I remember when I was a new doula, my client had a doctor who was also more on the episiotomy routine track. And I knew that about him because I had heard other doulas in the community talk about him in that way. And he was nice enough. I think he was like in his 70s at the time. Not that it's an age thing. It's more of a training thing. And she told me, she's like, I don't want an episiotomy no matter what. It was very important to her. I don't want an episiotomy no matter what. I was a new doula. So to be honest, I didn't really know how to advocate for her not having an episiotomy. Like now I know better and I'm much more seasoned and I know how to train my doulas to help with things like that. But the baby's head started crowning and he reached for his scissors. And I didn't know what to say and I froze and she couldn't see because she was knee deep in pushing. And all I said was, literally, Cheryl, that's all I said. I was like, because I was like thinking of like trying to figure out what to say next. And he looked at me because he got like, I distracted him. And then he remembered that she didn't want an episiotomy and he put his scissors down.
Wow.
He put his scissors down and she didn't get an episiotomy, not because I knew what words to say, but I literally gave him a pause to come out of his routine. It was his routine, like crowning grab the scissors, do the episiotomy. And he just put it down. She didn't get one. She was elated. And I was like, wow, that just happened.
Yeah.
That just happened. But listen, as a midwife, I have seen midwives have to do episiotomies. In my entire career, which is now almost 25 years of birth work, I think I've seen an episiotomy done less than the times on one hand, less than that. It's just not done. And for the midwife who has to do it or the doctor who has to do it, it is not plan A. You're cutting through muscle. Yeah. And we know that you only do it because you have to. So that was a really crazy. And she was like, thank you. I was like, I didn't do anything. I just didn't know what to say. So I caught his attention.
Wow.
Crazy story, right?
No, you
crazy.
saved her a lot of pain and
crazy. A lot of stitches. It's a lot of stitches that have to heal.
They
not only have to heal vaginally, if there's a laceration, but that whole perineal area, which for my listeners, an episiotomy is a surgical laceration that's done with very sharp scissors that goes from the vaginal opening down towards the anus. It's that whole area which we call the perineum. And some people have very short perineums because you got to be careful. You cut too much, you go right through the sphincter. And all through time, which again, it's the practice of medicine, there's been research on what is the best angle to do the episiotomy at. Are you better off going straight down? Should you go slightly to the left, like more mediolateral? And it's always changing. But the point is that they shouldn't be done routinely and they should not be done without consent.
100%.
Period. Yeah. Talk to me about the healing.
It took a minute and, I'm Jewish. So a week after you have a baby, you have a Brit Milah and circumcision basically. And I was walking in heels, not too high, but I even had to go shopping to find a dress and it was just uncomfortable. Really, I had some pain medication and, I can't stress enough how important it is to a woman to listen to her own body and what she really wants and talk to their doctor, their OB beforehand and ask them questions and do interviews. Don't just go to anyone that someone suggests.
Mm-hmm. Check out the midwives too.
Yes, the midwives.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which we didn't even know was an option, right? At that time.
Yeah,
I didn't know there were midwives when I had my child
I didn't
30
either.
some odd years ago.
I didn't either. And so I feel like we have a choice, it's our body and we're allowed to want certain things for it. And with my second one, God bless my sister-in-law. She referred me to another doctor, and she was amazing, Dr. Morrison.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah, she doesn't deliver anymore, but the first thing I asked her, I said, do you do episiotomies anymore? She's like, nope, absolutely not. I do the massage, method, and
I wait,
yeah. And that's all I really needed from her. And she was just so kind and nice and very matter of fact and very patient. Like, I told her my experience before, and she's like, yeah, don't worry. Like, whatever you need, whatever you want, I'm there for you. And so,
yeah, she's lovely.
So when I had Aaron, I didn't go through
another baby magically came out of your vagina.
Yeah.
Wow. And you were still 5 feet tall, right?
I was still 5 feet.
Wild. Yeah. It's amazing.
Still tiny frame.
Yeah.
And
do I sound sarcastic? I apologize. I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I just really struggle with this notion of you're too tiny, a baby's not going to fit. And the fear and the fear mongering that happens to people just really irritates me. And it's not only you are not, it almost translates as like you cannot.
Yes.
And who wants to hear you cannot when you're about to go through the most incredible transition of your life? It is the first moment of disempowerment that leads to all the other moments coming together in that. And that's one of my many pet peeves as a midwife. And also like the notion that like, oh, you're 6'2", that baby's going to, fall right out of you. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Right? You hear people who are 6'2" who are like, you know what, my baby was malpositioned. I was in labor for 36 hours. We opted for a cesarean because he wasn't coming out. Who's to say? Who's to say? I wish we would just stop with this is going to happen because you're this. No, it's not. Things can happen and it wasn't related to that, or things don't happen and they were supposed to be. Who knows? It's a wild journey.
It is.
It's a wild journey, and I wish we would just stop like labeling, you're small or you're big or you're this or you're that or you're this, it's just enough.
I agree, 100%.
So how was your breastfeeding journey?
With Noah was tough, my first, and I took the courses. Actually, I was talking to Noah about it last night because he's like, I'm going to do this with my kids and that. And I'm like, okay, no, I know how this works because I did the same thing. But you could take all the classes, you could take all the seminars, read all the books. Nothing prepares you for having children. Nothing. Until you have them and you just go through it. And so that's the way it was with breastfeeding. I just had to figure it out. And I think maybe you were the one who referred me to a lactation consultant. And I got help from her and, did the nipple shield thing. And he just couldn't latch on.
Yeah.
He just couldn't latch on, and I just ended up using the nipple shield for like 8 months with him. And I also gave him formula, which was another topic then that was like, oh my gosh, no, I don't give my kid formula.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and where women just did only breastfeeding. And there were a few here and there that did formula, and they were just like, whatever, I'm not gonna. But I even went into one of those yoga classes, Mommy and Me yoga classes. And the first thing the teacher said was, don't give your baby formula. And here I am.
Yeah.
Because
that must have felt really horrible.
I wanted to do both breast and bottle and alternate. And I just, and it was hard for me. And so I just believe whatever works for you, just do it. If you could only do it 3 months, do it 3 months. If for some reason you can't, okay. But the whole mommy shaming thing, or like, making another woman feel bad because they can't do certain things as a mother, I don't think it's fair.
It's not fair. It's damaging. It's really damaging. And at a time when we're learning and trying to figure things out ourselves, it's just so disempowering and so hurtful for someone to tell you that you're doing it wrong.
Right.
Where you feel like you're doing it right, but you're questioning because you're not sure. And so I think sometimes I've told this story before, but I remember I was struggling with breastfeeding just because I didn't know how to manage a very fast milk supply. Like if someone would have just given me a couple tips on how to do that, a lot of milk and milk that came out very quickly, and a baby who just couldn't catch up, so got a lot of gas. My cousin came over and she was like, "Babe, you don't have to breastfeed, right?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" She's like, "You know that if you don't like breastfeeding and it's stressing you out, then don't do it. It's fine. There's no wrong way to do this." This is Cousin Fariba, shout out. And it blew my mind. She gave me a carte blanche, like she got me out of jail.
Yeah.
And I felt, as soon as I stopped breastfeeding, I felt better. I started to come into myself. My boobs didn't hurt. I didn't feel guilty. I was like, yeah, it's not the only way to do it. I want to get formula. And my baby was happier because I wasn't as stressed out.
Yeah.
But with my second one, I did things a little differently just because I knew a little bit more. There's no wrong way, and every child demands something different of us. Also,
right.
What was your postpartum mood?
So with Noah, I was fine. I mean, just giving birth to Noah, like, shifted my world perception. Like, this is the meaning of life. Like, I was just had such a high with him, and I was good with him. Like, he was such an easy baby. He was so easy. And by 3 months, he was sleeping through the night.
Wow.
So he's
still pretty chill, huh?
He's so chill. He's always been and we just enjoyed him so much. And we're like, oh, this is easy. What are people talking about? Except the breastfeeding. We could do this 12 times. Yeah. And so it wasn't until I had my second where he cried a lot. He was very colicky.
He was a different baby. How was the delivery?
Delivery was good, but the medication wore off, and we were talking about the Ring of Fire. And
how did that feel in your body?
I was like, oh, that's what it is. Because I heard about the Ring of Fire, and I was like, oh, that's what it is. It was really, it feels like like that. Yeah, I saw a ring on fire. Like, those the visual. In the circus, the animal, like the lion jumping through the ring of, that's what I was seeing in my mind's eye. Yeah, and feeling. And
that's the incredible stretch that people feel as the baby is crowning, that lasts seconds or minute or so while the baby is coming out. It's intense.
Which makes sense for my second, Aaron. He's a fireball. But it was an overall easier experience than Noah, and he latched on quicker. I think I breastfed him for 2 years, and Shaya as well. Like, they were both, it was easy with them. Like,
yeah, you had done it before.
I had done it before, and they just latched on better. Like, it wasn't, I did get a consultant too, breastfeeding consultant, but once I had 2 sessions, it was like, hey,
yeah, you got the hang of it. There's good. So much to be said for, with your first one, you had some adversity, right? So you had the Bell's palsy, you had stress. First babies, always there's a learning curve. You were healing from an episiotomy. All of those things, those multifactorial things, come together to create the whole scenario, which is a harder time breastfeeding. It makes total sense. It makes total sense. So second time, same body, same breasts. You had some more experience, and you had an easier labor with no laceration to heal from.
Yeah, I did, because with the postpartum, I did have a bit of depression because, and I went to therapy, and he wanted to put me on medication, and I took the medication for maybe 2 weeks, and I didn't like the feeling of feeling numb. So that's when I started going into more holistic things, and I started like exercising a little bit more, like walking more, and I got a coach, and I went to therapy, and I just started working on myself more. It took time. I'm where I am now because of all the challenges that I faced in life. And I always want to figure out, well, what else can I do besides and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with medication. I know a lot of people who take medication to help them. My dad suffered from depression. Like, it was really bad, and he took medication, but that's the only thing he did. He didn't do like the therapy and the other like things that could have helped him.
Yeah,
and he just didn't know, and it was just a different generation.
And he was a physician. So you're a physician, you take medication.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
And in those days, I think more so even, and especially for men.
Yeah. I saw how much my dad suffered and I didn't want to go through that. And I felt I was prone to depression. I had it when I was younger, and then like having Aaron, and just he was challenging as a baby, and it really put a toll on me and on our marriage, and just it was stressful. There was a lot of learning that went on. I mean, to this day, raising teenagers, like that was another different journey as well.
Some gray hairs on our head for sure. For sure. And each one is so different.
So different.
Like they're both made by the same factory, but completely different models made 3 years
Day and
apart,
night.
right? Completely different. Tell me about your delivery with your baby girl.
So Shia, so I really wanted a girl, and it's funny because Bobby wanted 4. And when we had the 2 boys, he's like, I'm done. I just want these two. I'm not doing this anymore. Like, because everyone thinks, oh, kids, they're so cute, like before they have them. I want 10. Yeah. Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah. And so, but I wanted my baby girl. And so I finally convinced him. And he's like, what if it's another boy? I'm moving out. They're full of so much energy. And he's used to girls. Like, there's so many girls in the Benji family.
Oh,
right?
Yes. So I contributed 3.
Yeah. And he's such a girl dad. Like, that's his thing. Like, he's
obsessed
so
with her.
good with
his
obsessed. Daughter. Like,
He's good with all of them, but I think baby girls are.
But with her, it's just like, okay. Like with the boys, like, no.
Yeah. He's like, you had me at hello.
Yeah. And so, I wanted to have an experience where I had all the women that I loved around me. So it was then you could have more people in the room.
Who was there?
So you were my doula.
I was honored.
At the time you were a doula. And then there was my sister-in-law, my sister, my mom. And, Bobby was there. And he was okay with it, like, which I was, surprised. Usually he's like, nope. It's just going to be us. But I said, I just want her to be surrounded by these amazing women. And it was really emotional. It was, I'd have to say, one of my favorite births. Aww. Yeah. And you made it like such a special experience. And I don't know, just a very safe and comforting space and non-judgmental. Whatever I chose, you're like, okay. Yeah, there wasn't any pressure one way or another. I said, okay, if that's what you want. So that felt nice. And
were you worried that there would be pressure? Like, was there some things about doulas you'd heard that was like, oh, if I do this or I do that? What was important to you?
I think being heard. Because my first experience, I didn't feel heard by my doctor. Even though the doula was supportive. She didn't have as much experience, though. So I just feel like being heard as a woman, we want to be heard.
Amen. As humans, we want to be seen and heard, and especially during this mothering journey.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your incredible art. You are so talented.
Thank you.
You are really so talented. And those of you who've been on my website, you might have noticed a beautiful picture of a mother in labor being held. And that was painted by Cheryl Benji. And when she gave it to me, she said, this kind of reminded me of me and you when I was having my baby. And I just meant the world, really meant the world. I still have it in my office. I look at it often, and it's part of a lot of my artwork. So thank you for that. Talk to me about your art. How has it been healing? How are you using it in your creative coaching? And what is a creative coach?
Basically a coach that helps you through like creative blocks. I feel we are all born creative, but we forget. And usually it stops at the age of maybe 10. Like my daughter, 5th grade was the last time she took an art class. And the art teacher told me I was volunteering in her class. And she's like, Cheryl, this is the last year kids generally take art. And so I help people get through that block in whatever whatever it is that they want to do in the creative world, and push through that.
So it's not just painting or art. It can be writing.
It could be anything. Yeah.
I love that so much. It's so funny you say that. This morning I was talking to a friend about things that shape us. And I remember I had a best friend in elementary school who was such a talented artist. She was incredible. Even when we were little, we were like 3, and she was like drawing these incredible things that next to her, I always felt like I couldn't draw. And so I never, ever, ever tried. Ever. I actually don't like drawing. I'm not into freestyle anything. It scares me.
Yeah.
And so I was always, which actually says a lot about my like first child immigrant Virgo kind of brain. I love the parameters. I love painting by numbers. It's great. It tells you what number, it tells you what color, it tells you where your edges are, and then it comes together.
Well, see, that's where I would coach you.
Yes.
To get out of your comfort zone and do something messy and like, Jackson Pollock.
Mm-hmm. Terrifying.
And just throw paint on canvas and just put your hands in there and just move it around and not even care about the end process.
I think my blood pressure just went up.
So that's where I would push the limit.
You know what? Painting by numbers, coloring. I was a great colorer. I'll color with crayons, felt tip, great colorer. Also, it's like a life analogy, right? I don't like swimming in the ocean because I can't see the edges of it.
Yeah.
Put me in a swimming pool.
You're fine.
Even a lake where I'm like, there's one end, there's the other end. I think we're good. So long as it has parameters, I feel safe. And I think that's so much of a microcosm of midwifery. I worked as a doula for so long in the hospital that I knew like protocols and parameters and how things were done, as a hospital doula. Once I started going to midwifery school and I saw that actually those edges aren't really necessarily a thing. Like labor doesn't have to take 24 hours. Sometimes it takes 3 hours. Sometimes it takes 3 days, and that's still okay. Phenomenal to me. So I would have not arguments, but long conversations with my preceptors about like, talk to me about that protocol. And she's like, there's no protocol. It's called anticipatory guidance. It's called waiting to see what happens. It's called expectant management. But can't her water only be broken for 6 hours before she has to go in and get Pitocin? No. Some people's water is broken for 12 hours or 18 hours or 24 hours, but we're watching, right? What's the baby doing? Is she running a fever? What color is the water? There's so many things. And so it's such a microcosm of me becoming a midwife was like someone taking my edges away.
Yeah.
And learning how to work within this system where, I move very freely between the hospital births and the community births, whether it's home or birth center. I don't move as fluidly between painting by numbers and you giving me a canvas and being like, go at it.
Well, that's what I would work on.
Yeah.
Maybe
we need to sign up for a session.
As a coach.
Yeah.
And I want to say too, with the creative process, for me, after I had kids, it really, especially Shia, like a whole new world opened up for me. And I did a lot of mommy and baby paintings, and then I started painting moms and their bellies. And it became this whole new world of creativity for me and it was healing, and it helped me through a lot. And I feel like that's what art is. It heals us. It helps transform us and think differently and be a little different. And even when I would paint the belly of a mom, and I would start talking and painting. And, people might say, oh, well, the mom is sitting, so of course the baby's going to move. The mom is sitting there for like almost 2 hours. The baby hasn't moved until I start painting on the belly. And I just like, oh, baby's moving. It's like this energy and just hearing me talk and like the music. There's this life force that's going on. Absolutely. And the colors. There's a vibration to these things that, like this background, it's emitting creative energy that we all need. Creating a baby is a creative process. So, yeah, I feel it's important to have that creativity in our lives in one form or another.
And a lot of your healing came on the heels of such tragedy with your father passing unexpectedly. And can you talk to me a little bit about that and the creativity that helped you heal?
You know, my dad was, it's a long story. There's another podcast on that, but he was put in prison in Iran, and he was in there for about 5 years. And when he came back, luckily he came back for my son Noah's bar mitzvah. And then...
and you hadn't seen him for...
It was 10 years, I think. Noah was 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 months old. It was more than 10 years. And so maybe 4 days after his bar mitzvah, he had a stroke. And then he went in a coma and then, passed. I remember also I had a life coach who told me while he was away, because I really struggled with him being away. She told me, Cheryl, have you ever thought of painting your feelings and painting something about your dad? And I was like, no, I've never thought of that. And so it made me think differently about the purpose of art. It's not just to make pretty things, but to really express, even if it's ugly, whatever it is. I mean, I've had portraits of tears coming down, and it's okay, it's at least going onto paper or just writing. That's another creative process, writing whatever's in you, because we need to release it.
Right.
So there was a lot of creating along the way of any pain or struggle I've had. I've had 100-day painting journeys.
Wow.
Where I just paint every day, even if it's just for 30 minutes, 1 hour. It could even be for 10 minutes. It could be for 20 days, 21 days. And it's a different form of therapy. I wish I could have more people in this world doing that. It would be such a better place.
I wonder if we could have like a mommy's postpartum painting class,
that
like
would be
for
really cool,
once a week for 6 weeks. You show up with your baby and you just paint and you get it all out.
Yeah, they had mommy and me yoga. Why can't we do mommy and me painting? And it doesn't have to be anything like, listen, I always tell my students, we're not going to put this in a museum. We're not going to have an exhibit.
Right.
This is for you to take home. And it's about just the process, even if it sucks. Like Shia, my daughter, I remember watching her when she was a little girl, and she would paint or draw something, and then she'd be like, and like crumble it up and then throw it in the trash. I didn't say anything to her. I just watched her. And then she got another piece of paper, and then she did something else, and she ended up liking that. But if I stopped her and I told her, it's okay, honey, it was beautiful. She didn't think it was beautiful, and that's okay for her to be with those feelings and to hate it and to trash it.
Right.
We could do that too. Like, you don't like it, trash it, start all over.
Yeah.
It's just paper and paint or crayons.
Well, it's autonomy. It's autonomy about your creation.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. I would be like, well, my father passed away. That would be number 28. Let's find the color and paint all the 28. Right? We're all just so wired differently, and each creative process is so unique. Making babies is unique. Having babies is unique. Raising unique babies is unique. The whole thing is just so subjective and so individual and so amazing. 100%. And we learn from everybody. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for sharing with such transparency and such generosity about your very difficult experience. I adore you. You make the world better. You are sparkly. You're like the little gold little parts on this painting, and I am so grateful you came on. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for always being so supportive of me and my art, and just being there for me and being a great role model. I've always looked up to you and still do.
Pleasure. Best niece ever. What an amazing conversation with Cheryl. I just adore her, and I'm so inspired by her willingness to share her experience and bring education and hope and a sparkly glimmer to everything she touches. I love her and truly appreciate her for sharing her story with me. That's it for this week. If you'd like to support Mama Tusa, please subscribe or review us wherever you get your podcast. Mama Tusa is hosted by me, Atusa Benji, and produced and edited by Josh Stretton Carlson. Our theme music is composed by Mehri Lalazarian. If you'd like to support the show, please follow and review us on Spotify and Apple, or subscribe and like us on YouTube. This show is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare provider when making medical decisions. See you next Tuesday.